Mr. Masagos.
Mr. Speaker, it's with great honor that I speak in support of the motion to advance the progress of Singapore women. Since independence, Singapore women have made tremendous progress. Mr. Josephine shared about the many remarkable Singaporean women who have laid the foundations of our society. Allow me to share about one woman who has made great impact to social work development. Across the island, MSF provides a key line of social support in our local communities, enabling families to bounce back, achieving stability, self-reliance, and social mobility. This is through a network of 48 family service centers. This all started with Ms. Tung Sin Neo. She was a pioneering social worker, a giant in the profession. Sin spearheaded the formation of the very first FSC in 1978 in the then Ministry of Social Affairs. We owe Sin our gratitude for laying the foundations of our FSCs, which have uplifted and strengthened thousands of Singaporean families to this day. Mr. Speaker, the tremendous progress made by our women that we see today did not occur by chance. This was the outcome of the government's intentional efforts to steward the progress of Singaporean women, decade after decade, because we believe in a fairer and more inclusive society where men and women are equal, valued members of our society. My ministry and the many ministers that came before me have been at the forefront of this endeavor. We've led the charge legislatively and through our policies and programs, nudging at times and earth-shaking at times. I was proud to share how far we have come at the G20 Ministerial Conference on Women's Empowerment in Italy last year. Developing countries had problems providing access to education for their girls. And developed countries complained how their girls were still stereotyped to be educated for roles like teaching and nursing, and few were in STEM. When I shared that in Singapore, less than 1% of our children do not complete 10 years of education, and that our girls were free to choose their own education pathways, including STEM, the room fell silent. I think in disbelief that we have achieved both these. But we should now move from quantitative achievements to one where the quality of development is our focus, which is why we launched the year-long nationwide conversations on Singapore women's development. We press ahead even amid the pandemic and organized 160 conversations. Nearly 6,000 participants representing wide segments of society responded to the call and joined us, sharing with us their hopes and aspirations of our women. I was also glad to see many men participating in the conversation, some of whom are in the gallery today. Because in the next lab, we can only achieve this goal if we work together, men and women. A whole of society approach. One of whom said, and I quote, "Men and women both play a part in shaping the society. If we all start to do the right things, the future generations will not have to go through what we went through. We should start now while we still can," unquote. This is one of the big conclusions of the conversations, the collective responsibility that we as a society, including we, men, must play if we want to advance our women's progress. We must begin with challenging mindsets. This means forging new societal norms, one that is based on respect and partnership. Because only then can we progress further to truly empower both men and women to pursue their aspirations freely and fully. This requires collective commitments, individuals and families, people, private and public sectors, all segments of society to step up and walk the talk. In this respect, I believe that we men can make a difference for our women and in the process for ourselves. Thus, my appeal to all men. We can step up, we can do more, and we should. Be role models, not only in words, but also in deeds. Because we must believe in equal partnership between men and women with respect at its cornerstone. I want to state very clearly that this is not a zero-sum game. From time to time, such beliefs or misconceptions may come up. Misperceptions come up whenever we talk about advancing women's progress. This simply is not our way. Our approach is not about asserting the rights of one over another. As men, we have a big part to play to encourage equal partnership. In our homes, as fathers, it's our responsibility to teach our sons what it means to respect all women, starting from a young age, instill in them the right values, and be role models ourselves through our actions, for them to grow to be gentlemen. Our children are social learners of the world, watching our every attitude, word, and action. They model after us and assimilate perceived social rules. More tangibly, we can play a much bigger role in sharing the weight of caregiving. We need to pitch in more. Some have and many more can. Because in a partnership, we can build on each other's strength and be better together for our children and generations to come. I echo what Brian Tan, who leads the Center for Fathering, wrote in a recent commentary that says, and I quote, "Fathers are not substitute mothers, and that marriage is an equal partnership," unquote. Now allow me to share Saiful's story. We have cited in our white paper, but I thought it's worth reiterating. 7 years ago, Saiful left his job in the creative industry to be a stay-home dad. And the need arose because they had a young child in their family. While Saiful's wife continued to work, she was always there supporting him. Her presence enabled him to overcome the challenges that he faced. Saiful's story is inspiring for two reasons. First of all, not only did he challenge the traditional gender expectations and norms. Second, it shows us that when men and women partner together, we become better as one. We honor and respect our women because it's the right and moral thing to do. And this is not something new or just a feature of modern society. Respecting our fellow women is a natural evolution from our values because we have been nurtured to honor, to love, and respect the most important women of our lives, our mothers. We can identify this as an Asian society like ours, culturally or religiously. The Chinese know the devotion of Mencius's mother, how she single-handedly raised Mencius after her husband passed away, and Mencius' deep honor and respect that he carried for his mother. One account described the great length and extent that he went to bury his mother and to mourn for her when she passed away. When asked, he said that the devotion that one owes to one's mother should be expressed fittingly at all times, and certainly through her funeral and mourning rites. From Ramayana, the Indians cherish Rama, who was banished for 14 years to live in the forest by his mother Kaikeyi, to make way for his half-brother Bharata to become the king. And he dutifully left the city in obedience of his mother. Malay Muslims take lessons from Islam. When the Prophet was asked who a person should honor the most, forgive the best treatment to? He replied, his mother. And when asked again, then who? He said again, his mother. And again the third time, his mother. Only at the fourth time did the prophet say, his father. In honoring our mothers, it shows we are also taught to cherish and honor our wives, our sisters, our daughters. This is why we honor our Singapore women. As families, as a society, and as a nation, we are stronger when our women, every woman, can flourish and realize their aspirations and their potential. Thus, we must be part of the solution. And we will build upon this as a society, in workplaces, at homes, and in our community. At workplaces, our women contribute to a diversity of values, perspectives, and capabilities. Having more women in leadership roles helps to catalyze robust governance and better stewardship of organizations. I'm glad that women's participation on Singapore boards is almost 20% at top 100 listed companies and reaching 30% at statutory boards and top 100 IPCs today. MSF will continue a multi-stakeholder approach that empowers stakeholders to collectively address underlying root causes. For instance, the Council for Board Diversity raises public awareness of the importance of women on boards and works with corporates to develop a pipeline of board-ready women. This would be more effective than setting mandatory quotas, which does not address root causes of the issue that have to do with culture and tradition. Over the years, we have also greatly increased support for our caregivers. In Singapore, strong families form the bedrock of our society. They are a key pillar of strength and our first line of support, providing unconditional love and support through the ups and downs of life, such as that of our caregivers. Their role is irreplaceable, but there will be those who need more support, beyond that from one another. We recognize their contributions to our families and society, and we will support them. Pasek Rahayu will elaborate more, including the enhanced home caregiving grants that would better help with caregiving costs. Through the enhanced civil support scheme and the matched retirement savings schemes, we have also boosted the retirement incomes of Singaporeans, including caregivers, who may not have a chance to earn higher incomes during their working years. We have also made major moves to make quality preschools more accessible and affordable to families, to enable working parents, especially mothers, to pursue their career aspirations with peace of mind. And by around 2025, 8 in 10 Singaporean children can have a place in a government-supported preschool. These are just some of the many government-led initiatives to support caregivers and their families. But the government cannot do this alone. The community has an important role to play too. Caregivers can benefit from strong community support, especially fellow caregivers who share similar experiences and can offer practical and social-emotional support. Allow me to share Richard's story, which is also featured in the white paper. Richard left his job 22 years ago to care for his father who had cancer. Things became challenging when his father then developed dementia. His father would sometimes get violent with him and people around him. Fortunately, Richard received support from his neighbor and benefited from the caregiver support programs by the Caregivers Alliance Limited. Now, Richard gives back and volunteers with them and to help other caregivers find strength and solve the issues that they are facing. Richard's story is significant. Firstly, I'm encouraged that we are seeing more men like Richard playing a bigger role in caregiving. Like I said earlier, men must play their part in shaping societal norms towards more equal partnership between men and women. Second, Richard's story shows us the power of community support, where caregivers benefit from each other's experiences and supporting one another through practical and social-emotional support. Mos Lo Yan Leng Ling will speak more about this. I would also like to add that even as our society progresses, there are still persons who experience violence. Let me state this categorically, that all forms of violence cannot and will not be condoned by our society. Protecting women from violence and harm requires partnership across all spheres of society between men and women. Minister Shanmugam and Mos San Shui Ling will elaborate more on this. Finally, it's timely and apt to consider a meaningful way to reflect the enduring importance of Singapore women's development in our society. At the closing session of the conversations, PM had announced that the government had taken on board a proposal from the Singapore Council of Women's Organizations and will dedicate a public garden to honor, celebrate, and recognize the contributions of Singapore women. I'm pleased to announce that we have identified Dhoby Ghaut Green, which is located at the heart of the city, for the garden. The government will work with community partners and the wider public to design and develop the garden. PM will also launch a travelling Celebrating Singapore Women exhibition on 22nd April. The roving exhibition will celebrate our journey on women's development. It also aims to build awareness and ownership of the action plans among Singaporeans from various walks of life. Mr. Speaker in Malay, please. Di Singapura, kita percaya dengan perkongsian sama rata antara kaum lelaki dan wanita dengan rasa hormat sebagai nilai asas. Kita memuliakan dan menghormati wanita kerana ia adalah perkara yang betul dan bermoral. Ini adalah sebahagian daripada nilai-nilai budaya kita kerana sejak kecil kita diajar menyanjungi, mencintai dan menghormati wanita yang paling penting dalam hidup kita, ibu kita. Masyarakat Islam mengambil pengajaran daripada agama kita. Sebagaimana kita memuliakan ibu kita, kita juga diajar untuk menghargai dan menghormati isteri, kakak, adik dan anak perempuan kita. Sebagai kaum lelaki, kita boleh dan harus melakukan lebih banyak lagi untuk menyokong kaum wanita kita. Misalnya, kita boleh memainkan peranan aktif dalam penjagaan anak dan orang tua. Kita juga harus menyokong kaum wanita dalam mengejar aspirasi mereka di tempat kerja dan dalam masyarakat. Sebagai keluarga, masyarakat dan negara, kita lebih kukuh apabila kaum wanita kita berpeluang untuk maju dan mengembangkan potensi mereka. To conclude, the white paper is just the start of a decade of work. There will be many more conversations and actions planned to come. It's a decade-long plan of action and commitment by MSF and the government, key partners, which we will carry to fruition. We will build a culture of respect and partnership between men and women and across all spheres of society. This is what will take us forward in the next bound. I would like to extend our sincere invitation to all members, including those from the opposition, to come join us in our endeavour to advance Singapore's women development towards a fairer and more inclusive society. Thank you.